All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's head out.
It's always the hardest day of the month. It could be the last time that I see my daughter and drop her off at school. It usually shouldn't be a problem, but with the way that the drug testing system is, I never know what to expect.
Marie is on felony probation for fentanyl possession. She has monthly check-ins with her probation officer, and she must stay completely sober. At her last meeting, she was sent to jail for 72 hours after testing positive for alcohol, a substance she says she never consumes.
So had you been drinking?
No, I haven't drank in probably 6+ years, something like that.
What did that feel like?
Oh man, it honestly made me mad. I had a lot of anger when I heard that there was something going on with my test. I'm a recovering drug addict, and once you've done all those bad things for so long, nobody will believe you, nobody trusts you.
Marie's probation requires drug testing through the private company AverHealth.
At AverHealth, we believe the road to recovery goes way beyond a positive or negative test result.
AverHealth was born in the midst of the opioid epidemic. They've built a niche privatizing testing in the U.S. criminal justice system. But across the country, people being tested accuse the company of inaccurate results. And it's not just suspected drug users alleging AverHealth's tests are wrong. So does one of its own top scientists. Vice News uncovered court documents from a case in Michigan, revealing that AverHealth's former lab director claimed that up to 30% of the tests being reported were wrong, either false positive or false negative. AverHealth said in a statement that it was compliant with all standards and that its former lab director's allegations were baseless. It also noted that an independent investigation commissioned by the state of Michigan found no issues with the testing process. But Michigan temporarily suspended its contract in March. The state declined to comment as to the reasons. But agencies in more than 20 other states are still working with the company, running up to 8,000 tests a day. Drug testing has a massive impact on people's lives, but the science behind the tests is very mysterious. So we're headed to a lab to understand how these tests actually work. Alex Krutulski is a forensic toxicologist at a nonprofit lab outside of Philadelphia. He demonstrated how a supposedly perfect test can still go wrong.
So in here, we're gonna grab some of our things that we need for our tests. So in this refrigerator, we have these green boxes. And in these green boxes are tiny glass vials of all known drug standards. So this is, again, what we use to prepare our quality controls.
This is a library of drugs.
Yeah. The drug we're going to look for is benzoylecgonine, the metabolite of cocaine. I'm going to show you in a moment how we prepare samples to run them on a mass spectrometer.
Mass spectrometry is the gold standard of drug testing. It compares the molecules in a sample to known drugs. These instruments have strict quality control processes to ensure accuracy.
As a forensic toxicology lab, there's always a number of controls that you put in place to make sure that not only your experiments are working and that your instrument's working, but that you get the right result in the end.
The quality control process sounds like it takes a lot of time and effort to get right. Is that correct?
It takes time to not only prepare those additional samples, it takes time to analyze the data for those additional samples.
If quality controls fail, can the results be trusted?
Generally, no. Generally, that's a huge red flag for a forensic toxicologist. Well, they should say, no, these tests are not accurate, send the sample back to the lab, go through the process again, make sure everything passes the next time.
What Krutulski is describing is at the heart of the whistleblower's claims against AverHealth. She said that the company was delivering results even when quality controls failed. And she said when she brought the improper lab practices to management, AverHealth's executives dismissed quality controls as being too time-consuming. AverHealth markets its rapid turnaround time, and for the company, time equals money. The drug testing industry is a $4 billion market, nearly half of which is in the United States.
We're absolutely saving lives. We can point to thousands of case stories where people have completely turned around their lives.
AverHealth CEO Jason Herzog worked at an investment bank prior to acquiring the company. AverHealth is funded by private equity and received a $47 million investment in 2021. Herzog and AverHealth declined a request for an on-camera interview. But in the past, Herzog has said he sees AverHealth as a disruptor.
Before, the clinician could only rely on what the patient told them. And we've taken it to an objective level so that there's no question what's going on in that individual's life.
Objective testing depends on near constant surveillance. People need to be available for testing at AverHealth 365 days a year and can be tested 2 to 3 times a week. AverHealth says testing frequently helps people stay sober, but the company also profits from tests. And people like Marie pay out of pocket.
I've spent over $1,000, if not thousands of dollars on these tests. There's so many people that go there every single day, multiple times a week. They're getting millions of dollars from all of us.
What was the impact of going to jail because of some of these tests?
You know, it caused a lot of problems with my family, and if that happens again, I have 18 months in prison this time. With that being said, I would for sure lose my child.
If Marie goes to prison, the state could place her daughter into foster care. Defense attorney Jay Norton has contested AverHealth results in Kansas. And he says AverHealth's profit incentives are at odds with its supposed mission of rehabilitating people.
AverHealth is a for-profit company that exists for the purpose of making money, right? They're not a government agency. They're getting contracts from the government to provide these services. And they want to keep that gig because they're making millions and millions of dollars off of it.
Who is being required to test with AverHealth?
Virtually everybody, even people who are not accused or convicted of alcohol or drug-related crimes. Almost anybody who's on probation for anything will be required to do the daily urine testing call-ins. AverHealth benefits because they make money.
What is your perspective on the role that AverHealth plays in the justice system?
AverHealth is performing a function that used to be performed by people that worked within the court system. It's now been outsourced to a private company. The courts have placed all of their faith in AverHealth and are relying on AverHealth to give them accurate results. And nobody's checking up on whether they are or not. There's no oversight over AverHealth.
Courts are testing so often because it costs them little or nothing to run. And AverHealth makes the messy business of monitoring someone's compliance seem simple and easy. But blanket drug testing has a social cost. Failed tests are one of the most common reasons someone on supervised release ends up behind bars. Over-reliance on drug tests is a problem that's even bigger than AverHealth, according to Melissa Moore, a researcher with the Drug Policy Alliance.
What do you make of the fact that a lot of people are drug tested in the criminal justice system whose original offense actually was not drug-related?
I think this shows in so many ways the tentacles of the drug war that have seeped into so many different aspects of people's lives. The profit motive in and of itself has led to a lot of people referring to, especially urinalysis drug testing, as liquid gold, because it's just so lucrative and so pervasive across so many different sectors.
What do you make of the argument that drug tests actually keep people out of prison? That they're an alternative to incarceration?
Straight out, not the case. I mean, we see so many people end up being remanded into custody because of just a positive toxicology, not because they've reoffended, not because they've actually committed any other crime, but simply because they tested positive. It doesn't necessarily lead to them actually getting care or treatment. Drug tests are really this instrument that's often weaponized against people. It adds an additional hurdle that often people stumble over or can't clear. And it's because the system around the testing itself is super problematic.
AverHealth said in a statement that accuracy is paramount, that it is regulated, and that it recently passed inspections by the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments and the College of American Pathologists. It also said its testing frequency is backed by addiction medicine and varies based on the individual, ranging from once a year to twice a week. Marie's most recent test came back negative, but she's just one of more than 500,000 people currently testing with AverHealth in the United States. And if the allegations are true, this means there could be hundreds of thousands of people who are at risk for unjustly going to jail or losing their children.
Is it hard for me to stay sober? Of course it is. The old me 10 years ago, if this happened to me and they said I was testing positive, I would have said, screw this. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna use fentanyl. Since you're saying I'm doing it anyways, I might as well. Okay, I won't hold on. I'll just catch you if you fall, okay? I know deep down in my heart, I know my truth, which is there's nothing in my system, not even a cigarette, nothing at all. AverHealth really is determining my future and my entire life. And I feel like they know that. So it's really sad to think that there are companies out there that are profiting off of my addiction. And that is disgusting.